The final Taints room seems to be a little bit extra, since you're near the end. Although I'll say this much about this set of Taints. It's not going to be pretty. Just thought I'd warn you about that. Are you a supporter of PETA, or any organization dedicated to fighting animal cruelty? Are you the kind who gets riled when an Italian-American stereotype kills tortoises and wears a suit made from raccoon or tanuki fur? If yes, welcome to your personal hell. If no, then you should get some medical help, you sick. Yeah, that's right. It's not healthy, it's sadistic. That's actually what it's called. Why am I doing this? To make the sadistic taint provide a temporary synergy buff, all you need to do is have a live creature with you and torment it! Yes, that's right. You don't kill it and get it over with and cook its meat. You inflict pain on an animal. How is it for a student of the Marquis de Sade? And that's where the word sadism is derived from. A French nobleman who pretty much lost it. Yeah, that's the short version. Oh, and if you have a friendly creature that's orange. No, not that kind of orange, the kind that the English counties of Cheshire and Essex are big on. Or a certain leader. I'm talking about friendly creatures. One per character. If you torment this creature, you'll get a temporary buff, but you also lose one synergy each time you do that, so I recommend you don't do that. Because it might be detrimental in the long run. With the taints of the first taint room, Reckless is good for direct combat focused characters. Cowardly? Not really. Might be good if you believe direct combat is unavoidable. Gluttonous? The boost that's always on, well, that could help, as will the buff after eating. And prying, that's a more stable one, depending on the amount of punch cards handed in. The second taint room, acquisitive, it might slow you down, but the more of each item, the stronger you get. Fierce, if you want something for heavy fights. Conniving, that's good for those who travel light and want to pick locks easier. And unquenchable. Only if you're a risk taker. Personally, I don't see why I should use that. Because it's dependent on a certain substance, and I'd rather not be dependent on that. With the third taint room, abusive, only if you're sure you'll need the buff along with the torture buff. Vengeful, only if you're good at parrying. Obsessed, the boost is decent if you remember to have an even number of items. Greedy, make sure you hoard enough valuables as if you were a certain character from a Charles Dickens novel. Yeah, it's even in the penalty if you remember to spend more than you need to. I mean, do I have to say which one? Well, certainly not Oliver Twist, I'll say that much. With the fourth Taints room, thieving builds up the steel, and you can find items that you can use. Bloodthirsty, that might help with killing quickly. Paranoid, that's more for the stealthy types, so avoid that one. Fanatical, the buff from this might go over the others, and you gain a boost from destroying impure items. Ever wanted to know what it was like to be Hannibal Lecter? To know the taste of your own kind? Then put on a muzzle and that white jacket with the arms tied behind your head. Because you're a danger to others and yourself. Yeah. You should lock yourself in a padded room while you're at it. It's cannibalistic. Yeah. In case you've forgotten, it's an abhorrent act. To get the temporary buff out of this, first you need to rip out a human heart out of one of the lost souls, like an Aztec priest who can't wait to bring the sacrifice to the temple. Then you put in some Addo energy into a transmutation machine, put in the human heart, activate it to cook it, and then you eat it. Yeah, suddenly we're in a up version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first Taints room, Reckless is useful for fighting large groups due to the buff that increases with enemy numbers and when injured. Gluttonous is the most useful as it involves eating something. Cowardly, only if you're forced to fight. Prying, it could give a buff if you transmute before battle. And the passive boost is consistent. Yeah, gluttonous, a bit disgusting when you think of it in this way. The second Taints room, Acquisitive, it counts towards the item type count by 2. Fierce, if you're damaged, you'll get a buff and a boost for each enemy you kill, so that might be good for the combat orientated. Conniving, useful mostly for the lockpicking chance increase. Unquenchable, if you want the drunkard warrior type, otherwise, avoid. And someone says, eat your heart out. Who said to take it literally? Yeah. So far, the Taints are the darkest of all, aren't they? I mean, first it's sadistic, and now it's cannibalistic. And I couldn't help making a reference to Hannibal Lecter. Let's just say that it's more the... Oh, let's just get on with this. The third Taints room, Abusive, that adds to the buff given to give the best survival chance in combat. Vengeful, it might help with the counterattack damage, if timed well. Obsessed, if even number items, yes, if not, no. Greedy, if you have a good amount of valuables, but be warned, it will slow you down, much like Acquisitive. Because you're carrying a lot of weight. That might bite you in the rear when fighting Dr. Morike. Yeah, that's one boss where you do not want to be slowed down. The fourth Taints room, Thieving, best steal their possessions before you literally steal their hearts. Bloodthirsty for those who want to be a berserker. Paranoid for the stealthy type in case there's no way to get around them. Fanatical to add to the buffs and gain a boost while you're at it. Right. I'm guessing it's more than the lambs that have been silenced. Sorry. Couldn't help it. Right. What's next? Ah, yes. That one. Are you big on devil worship? Do you want to sell your soul for material gain? Then by all means, come to the marketplace and see how much it's worth. It's soulless. Yeah, that's what it's called, and to get the benefit from this, it's not straightforward. You know those vending machines that have the soul shard armor? Where the price is soul? Well, the first thing you need is a soul vessel. Then you need to put it in the transmutation machine. Then you choose the option to infuse with your soul and activate the machine. Then you take the infused soul vessel and use that to pay for the armor. I know, I made it sound like some bland financial transaction, didn't I? And what you get out of it is a ridiculously powerful armor. With a lot of benefits, but the drawback of being black steel. Do you think it's worth the price? Well, I'll leave that judgment up to you. Reckless is probably best for this one, as the injury could count for the synergy boost. Cowardly, the chrono inhibitor might help with stealth kills. Gluttonous and prying, if you want something that's more consistent and will happen when playing normally, then stick with either of these. Depends on your preference. The second Taints room, acquisitive for the item load boost, conniving for the lockpicking chance increase, fierce for the added combat buff if injured in battle, and unquenchable. No! Why do I want to be at the mercy of running out of booze? The third Taints room, abusive if you want a huge buff before battle, on top of the others. Vengeful, not for those who suck at parrying, as that's the whole point of that Taint. Obsessed, for those who can manage their items well. Greedy, for those who are tighter than a constrictor around their prey's windpipe. Yeah. Right, is there anything else? Oh yes. The Soul Shard armor has a combination of black steel, chrono inhibitor, and passive damage, which is good for grip combats, and for those who want to get up close quickly or to time their blows better. It also does a decent job at protection against both grip combat damage and distance combat damage. Although black steel curse, that might be a drawback because it provides an additional injury, which might lower your survival chances, but let's face it, at this point, it doesn't really matter, does it? The fourth Taints room. Thieving, good for items, and adds to the boost you already have. Bloodthirsty, for those who don't want to take their time. Paranoid, for those who do want to take their time and not directly fight. Fanatical, for similar reasons to thieving, but the boost is gained by destroying the impure, and has a buff that is gained from convincing lost souls to kill themselves. Ever wanted to know what it was like to be a scientist in Rapture, who would break so many boundaries that the icy cold seawater would flood in, drowning all within that section of the city? Well, here's your chance. It's Playing God, the last of the Taints in the final Taint room. Well, at least until more are released. This allows rare items to be made. What's the downside, you may ask? Well, it might have something to do with fueling the transmutation machine with 30 Adder energy and putting a live animal in it! Pacer Hell is once again with us. Once activated, you'll either get an Abominations, that gives a synergy boost, Neurojatan's Tear, which gets rid of hunger and refills the Chrono Inhibitor bar, or Panacea. It's such a high cost! To be honest, any of the first Taint Room Taints work with this one, as Panacea will heal anything, Neurojatan's Tear will get rid of hunger and refill the Chrono Inhibitor bar, and the Abomination will make you stronger. But the screams as they die! Gluttonous might benefit a little. The second Taints room, Acquisitive might have 3 more item types. Conniving might help with accessing Adder fuel. Fierce and Unquenchable. I'd go for Fierce if you have to choose between the two. I have an uncle that encourages me to drink more booze. Unsuccessfully, I might add. Let us just say that I'm glad that I avoid it. I have problems keeping it together sober. I'd be a danger to others and myself if I was drunk. Yeah. Too high a risk. The third tainting room. This can work for any of them. Choose Abusive for the buff, Vengeful for the parry buff and boost, Obsessed for the boost when carrying even number of items, Greedy for carrying loads of wealth. Yeah, with this one, use your best judgments. Whichever works best for the combination you have. The fourth Taint room, Thieving can help with finding both creatures and Adder fuel. Bloodthirsty and Fanatical depends on whether you're aiming for Berserker or Zealots in your character. Paranoid, if you want to be stealthy. But here's some advice if you want to record this kind of run. Make sure you have plenty of room on your hard drive. Because it's going to take a bit longer. Oh yes, and as for something else with all except sadistic, if you pet a creature when you have one of these taints, it will turn orange and will appear in later runs. And the more you pet it, the more synergy boost you get from it. Up to 20. So, if you can get a creature, get one. Because it will slightly increase your survival chances. Oh. And if I didn't say it before, it's 1 per character. Otherwise it'd be ridiculously overpowered. I'll make corrections at the start of each additional Taints video. The Taints that aren't from the vanilla version of this game. Until next time. Hail the rabbits!